Why does the government feel attacked when people speak against injustice? Why does it panic when the public refuse to be polite about their suffering? Why does questioning policies that bring hardship feel like an insult to power? I want you to know this. Censorship is never about protecting the society. It's always about protecting power. When NBC bans a protest song, they dress it up as public decency. But what they are really saying is, don't offend the government. And that flips the entire script because the government is not the people are the people. If a policy is inflicting pain, the public interest is to shout it from rooftop. Silencing it doesn't erase the pain, it only pushes it off the playlist and onto the street, and the street no get volume. When journalists are detained under the cybercrime laws, the message is loud. We won't answer your questions, we'll arrest you instead. That is lazy governance. Hello people, welcome to Civic Room. On this episode, we are diving into the battle for expression in Nigeria. Why does the government feel attacked when people speak against injustice? Why does it panic when the public refuse to be polite about their suffering? Why does questioning policies that bring hardship feel like an insult to power? In this country, the simple act of speaking, whether in a song, an article, or even a Facebook post, can earn you a knock on your door at midnight. When speech becomes a crime, silence becomes policy. They say Nigeria is a democracy. But what does democracy mean if you cannot criticize those in power without fear? If the only words that pass through the airwaves are words that flatter those in power, that is not democracy. That's decoration. The whole idea behind freedom of speech is that for us as a people to have opinions and influence change through our opinions, we have to risk being offensive to those in power. This is the greatest power we have in a democracy. It is not just about ballot boxes and campaign jingle. Democracy is about arguments, sometimes messy, uncomfortable arguments. The freedom to speak truth to power is under attack in Nigeria. Civic space is officially rated repressed in Nigeria. And that's not me being dramatic. It is data. International watchdogs say that our civic freedom are throttled. Journalists detained under cybercrime laws, artists censored because their lyrics cut too close to the bone, artists being tracked, harassed, and silenced. The gate is technically open, but the dogs are out. I'm not talking about random events. I'm talking about pattern. And in politics, pattern is policy. Let's go on a little journey. April 2025, National Broadcasting Commission bans Idris Abdulkarim's protest track. Tell your papa. Why? Because the lyrics cut too deep. The song names hardship, ties it to leadership failure, dares to say what many of us are whispering. NBC calls it indecent. Amnesty International calls it censorship. Me? I call it cowardice. A regulator pretending to defend morality, but really defending fragile egos. May 2024, Daniel Ojukwu, a journalist with the Foundation for Investigative Journalism, is detained. His crime? Doing his job, writing about government spending. He's held under the Cybercrime Act. That law was sold to us as protection against internet fraudsters, but it's being used as a whip against journalists and anyone who dares to speak truth to power. December 2024, Dele Farotimi, a lawyer, author, critic, is arrested, dragged through charges tied to his writings and speech. Whether you love or hate his politics, that's not the point. The point is this. When a state treats dissent as crime, it is telling every one of us that we should think quietly or don't think at all. And let's not forget the protests, the cost of living marches, youth mobilization time and again met with force, tear gas, bullets, arrests. Citizens gather to say something is hurting us, and the state responds with little force. That's not democracy wobbling. That's democracy bleeding. I want you to know this. Censorship is never about protecting the society. It's always about protecting power. When NBC bans a protest song, they dress it up as public decency. But what they are really saying is, don't offend the government. And that flips the entire script, because the government is not the people. The people are the people. If a policy is inflicting pain, the public interest is to shout it from rooftop. Silencing it doesn't erase the pain. It only pushes it off the playlist and onto the street. And the street no get volume. When journalists are detained under the cybercrime laws, the message is loud. We won't answer your questions. We'll arrest you instead. That is lazy governance. But don't call journalism a digital crime because it opened the wrong doors. That's cowardice masquerading as policy. When dissenters are arrested, the government thinks they've been silenced. But history shows us the opposite. Censorship backfires. Banned songs become viral. Detained artists sell even more records. Repression is a gamble. You can scare some people into silence, but you can also radicalize others into organization. And when organization mature, it moves from hashtag to infrastructure. That's the unintended consequence. Repression breeds capacity. The stakes for 2027 elections are very high. That is why censorship conversation matter today more than ever before. You cannot fix rigged election structure if you cannot name them. You cannot demand transparent governance if you are punished for asking who is eating our future. You cannot protect the ballot box if you cannot first protect the protests. Freedom of expression is not luxury, it is the toolbox. Remove it and everything else collapses. They know this. Think about this. In every democracy, the most important question is the one that makes powerful politicians uncomfortable. If that questions become forbidden, your future becomes forbidden. If you are young and politically aware, your voice is your front line. Your tweets, your lyrics, your blog post, your street chant, that is your power. That's why it is being targeted. Ask yourself, why does a government fear a protest song? Why does it detain journalists with a pen? Why does it panic at a group of young people marching with placard? Because speech is power. And because speech multiplies. They cannot arrest all of us. They cannot ban every song. They cannot silence every page. And every attempt to do so exposes the fragility of their own legitimacy. Government don't reform out of goodwill. They do so when the price of not reforming become very expensive. So we have to raise the cost of silence, legally and internationally. Raise it until censorship becomes stage fright, not strength. Raise it until international press links every policy announcement to its civic space record. Raise it until banning a song does more damage to the government than letting it play. Raise it until arresting a journalist costs more than answering the questions of that journalist. When a book becomes a crime, your democracy is already on trial. We are not spectators, we are citizens. We don't sit and watch silencing happen. We call it out. We resist it. We expose it. Stay engaged. Stay focused. Stay unafraid. This is Civic Room with Menkiti, and I'll see you in the next episode.